Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RC Groups. We're having a little Friday afternoon interview. We have Scott Annand from High Point. Scott, what's going on?
Hey, not much, Jim. Just hanging out.
So I know you from Flying Giants, and as I went through the site right before we got online together just to make sure I wasn't missing everything. This is kind of a product line, and your company is High Point that is totally directed at giant scale pilots. Am I correct?
Yeah, for the giant scale gasser crab, basically.
And how long have you been on Flying Giants? Because I know I've been aware of your name for quite a while.
Yeah, I got into the hobby uh, going on 6 years now, and on RC groups. I like everybody else. I saw some kind of airplane flying on YouTube, and I thought, wow, I'm going to try that. And when I posted on RC groups, everyone said, hey, you'll poke your eye out, kid. That plane's too much for you.
Right.
And they told me to get a Champ. And I went to the hobby shop and I said, well, I'll take that. And the size of a Hobby Zone Champ.
Right. Yes.
It's about the size of your fist.
Right.
Uh, you know, Bought that and learned, had a teacher at our local field, Tony Nakarada, who's just since passed, teach me the basics. I looked down the pit row and saw all the giant scale guys with the big planes and said, that's what I want to do. And that's how I got started.
So, how long did it take you to go from I'm interested in the hobby to actually, let's say, taking off and flying your first giant scale plane?
For me, it was maybe 8 months. I wheeled my first 3D hobby shop was my first gas plane. I
Okay.
wheeled it again, and the guy said, "No, change that servo, change that." And I dragged it back with my tail between my legs, and
Right.
ended up going back, and then kind of getting in that with that click. And now I just bought a 50%. So I've been through all the planes, and kind
What
of
fit?
eyeing bigger.
What 50% do you on?
I have the Hempel 260.
Yeah. Yeah. Hempel does it right.
Yeah, and it's I can't go any bigger right now because trailer. I don't want
Right.
to buy another trailer just for the plane.
You know your hobby's serious when you have to buy a trailer just to haul your stuff around.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing about giant scale, I'd say if you're on RC groups and you're watching this and you just fly some smaller electric stuff, bigger flies better. So when you made that jump so quickly, did you realize that bigger is almost more forgiving and flies like a real airplane?
I realized I was a lot scareder of it because of the amount of money I had invested in it.
Yeah.
And to this day, when I idle out to the runway, that still goes through my head. This is not a $150 foamy. Don't crash it.
It equals to money and then time invested. So the first plane I ever built, I had a month in it. And I remember the first time I was going to go out and fly it, my hands were shaking because I didn't want to lose the time or all the money I had. And I've never done it before.
Yeah, it's I love the hobby, and I just love the giant scale stuff.
Right.
You said they fly bigger, and you can see them in the air easier.
So how did you get from, okay, I'm going to be a giant scale pilot to actually selling products for other giant scale pilots?
Well, anybody that flies a gasser knows that tuning is critical on your plane, your engine, and to try to hold that screwdriver in when the plane is running. Don't recommend you do it while it's running, but that's the only way to do it. Is almost impossible. And one of my friends, Mark Thomas, who's an excellent pilot, he was just using a screwdriver through a piece of brass tubing, and I thought, well, here's an idea. Why don't I embed the tip inside there and kind of make a whole product? Once I did that, everybody wanted one.
And with that, I think it's time to go to your site, ProTuneStick. Am I reading this right? .ecwid.com. Is that the actual URL?
Yeah, Ecwid is the storefront. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say it again. ProTuneStick.ecwid.com. And we are going to head on over there. There we go. And so this is the site. And as you go in, the first thing we see here is made in the USA. And I know making anything in the USA isn't easy. I tried it myself with my Billy Hell line of airplanes. So tell me about that.
Well, because I own a lathe and a mill, and one of my good friends, Eric Elliott, another good pilot, he has a big fabrication shop. All the tools are available to me. So I would just go over there and start building the prototypes, and then ended up in production runs. And of course, we could send them to Taiwan, Thailand to have made, but in the quantities, I'd rather have them, hands-on, made by us here, by pilots, for pilots.
And speaking of pilots, you have a list here of some of the pilots who use your products. Kim Quinnett is one. Let's talk about some of those guys.
Yeah, Kim, Santi, Mark, among others, lots of guys use our products. Those guys demand the best there is in airframes, engines, and in peripheral, products such as tuning tools.
So let me go to the first thing that made me aware of your product. It was this stick. And I was amazed at how many people went crazy over this thing and continue to go crazy. I'm assuming you sell quite a few of these things.
Oh yeah, that's our number one seller. It's the mainstay of High Point. As the engine's vibrating, and you can never hold it into the slot.
Right.
It's just impossible to feel. Our tool just fits over the tuning screws, and you can turn, and you've got a good 10-inch distance that you can move kind of away from the prop, depending on what size of prop you're using.
Gotcha.
But it's just it's a basic tool that everybody should have in their toolbox.
So here's some close-ups. And it's not expensive. It's $22.
Yeah, $22.50, $22.95.
$22.95. And then you can add your name to it.
Yeah, little things like that. And you can buy a couple of grommets, because most of the time you'd rather wouldn't have to pull off your prop, spinner, and cowling to get to it. So you can set it up so you can just use any grommet, and it'll pass through, and you can find your tuning screws and tune without pulling the whole engine or the whole front of the plane apart.
Gotcha. And then we have a glow tune stick.
Yeah, that was some of the guys at the field were, didn't want to be left out. So we have that hooks on to the tuning needle on a glow engine. I don't fly glow. I don't know much about that, but seems to work. And people like that also, the glow guys.
I don't know what is more dangerous, a big motor or a little motor. I have seen multiple people put their hands through two-stroke props as they were doing this exact thing,
Yeah, frankly, I see a lot more people get cut with the little ATC props on the glow engines than the big ones.
Right. And then you have other tools in here. We have the Pro Dual Puller.
Yeah, that's another item that, once everybody's got their plug stuck in the plug cap when they're looking for a spark or something, and then it's I hate to see people use the wrong tool for the job, and they're pulling at the plug threads with pliers. So gotcha. This just screws in, the one end screws into your plug, and you can just yank your plug out. The other end is a cap puller to actually pull the cap off the spark plug when it's in the engine without using pliers or ripping things apart.
And this guy goes for $27.50. So all of this, you could just walk right in, grab it, and not worry about it.
Yeah, all the price point here is obviously the RC community doesn't like to spend a whole lot of money, and so all our tools are aimed at the price of a 12-pack or something.
Right. You need it, you buy it. Low pressure leak down test pump.
So yeah, that's another thing. That's we don't actually manufacture that. We buy that from a wholesaler, and that works in conjunction with our leak down test kit. Another thing is people are always wondering why their planes aren't idling correctly and this and that. And you're chasing your tail half the time. And I come from a motorcycle background, and two strokes years ago, And we'd always do leak down tests on the engine to see where air is leaking.
Right.
And you can't do it without creating some kind of pressure in the crankcase. And this way, our kits let you do that. And they're specifically made for, the common DLE, DA engines, that type DLA. They're all much about the same.
So we've got the Pro Dual, the Pro Cap, and the Pro Gap plug puller. So what's the difference in these two guys?
Well, that one has a integral gap feeler gauge built into it. So you don't have to look around and go through your feeler gauge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 looking for that 19, 18 thousandths thing. It's already built in, so you can pull your plug and you can gap it at the same time with this.
Gotcha. All right. What have we missed? Is there anything I need to?
The one of the latest products we have is the spark plug precision gap tool, and that's, you probably have to go back on our main page to see that. And what that is, I'll let you bring it up.
Where am I? There's the engine test kit.
Upper right-hand corner.
Gap tool right here?
Yeah. Well, you've been working on engines all your life, I'm sure, and you gap your spark plugs and you pull out your feeler gauge and you slip it in there and you kind of tap the plug down on the table or with a pliers or a screwdriver. You slip that out and you hope you got your 20 thousandths whatever. This tool, you actually put your spark plug in the tool, slide your feeler gauge in, and with the knob, turn the knob so it actually sets the electrode against the feeler gauge, giving you a positive, truly, say, 19 thousandths gap on your plug. No messing around.
I would think that would have applications all over the place. Not only
some of the car guys I know are going, hey, you need to make those for cars. And listen, the RC business is tough enough trying to get into say AutoZone or O'Reilly's. Guys I know are a nightmare.
I bet, man, it just seems like people would catch on to this for other applications because I've never had anything like that before.
Yeah, it's a unique tool. And although all you'd have to do to change it is, change the thread size, and make it a little bigger for automotive use.
Right.
So we'll see where that goes.
All right. Well, that is an awesome amount of stuff. And I want to thank you for coming on board as a new advertiser on flyinggiants.com and supporting the guys and the site and the hobby.
Yeah, great. And before I go, I'd like to thank all our team guys and the guys that use our products, Kim, Santi, Brian, Mark Thomas, and all the top pilots that are associated with our products.
Awesome. And I will put a link directly to the site in the description once this thing spools up and goes live on our YouTube channel. And Scott, I want to thank you for taking time out. I heard that all your buddies went out flying and you had to stay here and talk to me. So I hate to have kept you.
No, hey, great. Thank you for having me. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I wanted to get something going on a Friday, and this was great. Everybody have a good weekend. Be safe out there. And this is Jim T. Graham and Scott from Pro Tune Stick. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.